Hello, welcome to this episode of Industry Voice.
Mm.
Today, we have the OG, the legend of insurance podcasts, and someone that's a big inspiration to me. Someone that actually inspired me to build this podcast.
Oh,
So,
wow.
Jason Cass, how are you, sir?
Man, I'm doing fantastic. Really, truly am. Thank you very much for this offer or this opportunity. Yes, I will admit I'm just going to take it because sometimes I get mad at people when I give them appreciation and they don't accept it. I get it enough. I guess I am the OG. I'm pretty sure somebody else started a podcast in the insurance industry before me, but 2013, I've been doing it. I mean, 10 years. I'm going on 11 years here next March. And Jeff, the beauty of doing this podcast is meeting people like yourself. I'll never forget when we met and we traded a bunch of messages on you coming over to the independent world and the unbelievable numbers that you were putting up. So this is fun. This is fun.
So, just relive that memory. And for audience that don't know, somebody suggested that I should get on a podcast and tell my story. And at the time, we just wrote our independent agency and we went from zero to 177 employees, team members in 4 months out of the gate. And at first, I think we were doing like 900,000, 800,000 premiums a month. And then we went up to 2.3 million as our best month. And that was back in 2019. So premium has jumped a lot the last 5 years. That's probably $4.5 million today's
Yeah,
premium.
you're right about that. That's a good thought there, Jeff. Wow. Yeah.
And we were doing that, never ever written single premium. And then a mutual friend of ours was like, "Hey Jeff, you should go tell your story. You should go meet this guy named Jason Cass." I was like, "Who's Jason Cass?" And then he was like, "If you want to tell your story, there's one guy to tell your story, and you just gotta meet him." And then we hit it off on Facebook Messenger, right?
Yeah.
And then I went on your podcast, and I think after I went on your podcast, my LinkedIn and my Facebook got blown up. So I have like 32,000 followers on LinkedIn,
Damn.
5,000 followers on Facebook. But it was really that podcast that I was like, okay, I need to take my followers and social media a little bit more seriously. And thanks for all the opportunity to jump on your podcast. And since then, I got out of my comfort zone.
Well,
And
the thing is, Jeff, people talk shit too much in this industry, right? And the thing about it is they do because no one ever sees anybody's PL, right? No
yeah,
one ever sees anybody's other PL or their balance sheet. So you can just talk shit and say, here's who I am, here I am. But there's a certain few times when, like, let's say you're at a company event and the company is like showing how awesome the agents have done, and you see the agents' numbers up there. You're like, hey, that's not bullshit. That's real numbers, right? Where am
yeah.
I going? That's what you did, Jeff. I remember you started showing me your numbers. You started showing me some of your at the first you didn't have a ton of software, but you were giving me the numbers that you could. I think through AZ, I think is what you were
It
using
was
for
agency Zoom,
marketing.
yeah.
Yeah, AZ Zoom.
Good
What was
memory.
cool is you sent me an email or you sent me a Facebook message, and it was like I'm pretty sure it was the president of Nationwide, and he was with like two of his other people, and like they did this 30-second video shout out to you and your team for doing all this business. And I think they even threw out like you wrote $1 million in 1 month with us. Thanks, Jeff. And I was like, well, that's proof right there that this son bitch ain't talking shit. You know what I mean? He's telling the truth. So yeah, that was a big moment for me.
Man, though, when you just said that, I'm just thinking out loud in my head, like personal line world have changed so much since
Yeah, it
2019.
has. You're right about that.
2019 was like, oh, you got 3 tickets? Sure, prefer line. Here we come.
That is true. That is so true, Jeff. I mean, we won't go on about it, but yeah, it's totally different world. Our customers call in with a big rate increase. We say, sorry, this is the best we have. And they stay with us because they call another agent and they're telling them the same thing. It's wild out there, wild out
It
there.
is well.
But
But
five
let's
years later, here we are, still here, Jeff.
let's make this about you because we got like an hour to cover, and I want my audience to learn about Jason. And bro, I just gotta give kudos to you because like since I know you, you just like nonstop another idea, another business, another idea, another business. Um, you interview everybody else, and not enough people get to interview you. So I want to put you on the story here. And let's
Okay.
go back. Let's go back like how'd you get into insurance? Let's talk about the boring stuff. How'd you get into
No, it
insurance?
ain't boring.
How'd
Ain't
you
nothing in Hank
grew?
Cass's life boring. I'm telling you right now, Jeff. Ain't nothing boring in my life. My
Let's
life is
tell the story.
unbelievable. My life
Let's
is
talk.
unbelievable. I've been absolutely blessed 700 times over. I'll just tell you why. I was, this is going to sound weird, but I was blessed with having a mental disorder called bipolar. I am bipolar. Type 2. I'm not the guy that they had to drag off of the plane because he didn't take his pills, right? That's type 1. I am type 2, which means can be medicated and everything completely. Why? You may say, holy cow, Cass. Normally, people don't even tell people that. It's one of my missions in life is to let people understand that if you have some kind of mental disorder or whatever you want to call it out there, that you actually have a superpower. The thing about it is that you don't get to realize the superpower until you take the medication. And that's the part that most people mess up on. My wife about left me when I was 25 years old with my first child, and I'm still with her today. Been married 22 years as of last Saturday. But the fact is that she told me you're going to get help, or I'm not going to come back. And she left with my little boy for about 3 or 4 days until I said, finally, I'm going to do that. It was the greatest thing of my life. And people say, without going on, Jason, what was the difference in your life? What do you notice? And this is what I say to them. I don't know. All I know is there was the Jason before and there was the Jason after, and I don't want to be that Jason before ever again. So if you're out there and you're hearing that, just know there is hope for you, and there's people out there like me and others that can definitely help you see that you can have good in your life when you have that. Now, by doing that, that's how I create all my companies. That's how I've done what I've done. Coming out of high school, my dad was a tile setter. That's what he did. And he owned a tile store, and I would help him set tile. I watched him at 42 go through his third back surgery. And when I was 20, I thought, I don't want that to be me. I got lucky and walked into selling windows. Somebody's told me that you could get $45 per window, and the average house has 10 windows. I figured that up quick. I was like, wow, $450, I can do that in 2 days. So I decided I'm going to install windows. Never installed windows in my entire damn life, but I thought, hell, I can figure this out. I was sitting out in the front in the lobby waiting for the installation manager, and the sales manager comes out and he says, "Hey, what are you here for?" I told him, and he said, "You're dressed entirely too nice." I was like almost in a suit because this is what my mom told me to do, right? But I'm going for an installation job. I didn't know. And he said, "Hey, why don't you come in here and talk to me?" I talked to him, and he said, "Hey, I think you could make it good in sales. Why don't you try this? If you suck at it, we'll just move you right over to installation." I said, "Let's do it." In the first 6 months, I was the number one salesperson out of probably 20 some salespeople in St. Louis. I realized immediately after I got my bonus on my 4th month, I walked in and I told my wife, I showed her the check and I said, "Honey, I think I'm good at this. Like, I think I can do this." Right. And what I didn't realize was I wasn't great at being a salesperson. And I think I'm probably very good today, but I wasn't then. I just knew that I had an unbelievable belief in myself. I don't know where that came from. I was raised by a single woman. And sometimes people pull that against them, but I had an unbelievable belief in myself. And so that's what I did. I also found out the homeowner improvement industry, the home improvement industry is crooked as all it's just not and I don't like that. If I'm going to help somebody, I want to be doing something good. So I got into insurance. So the way I got into insurance was my father-in-law. My father-in-law retired from Conseco Insurance, was a company back in the 80s and 90s. He told me when he met me when I was 17, he said, "Jason, you need to be in insurance." I told myself I'll never be in insurance one day in my damn life. Well, here I am. So after that, I got hired by Mike Beard. Now, this is a great little part. I went and got my own license. This is in 2001. I went and got my life and health license. No one would hire me. No one would hire me. I called, went to every place, beat on their door. This place in my town, the insurance partnership, I wanted to work there so bad, and they wouldn't even take my call, anything. So I got hired, but so I called on Christmas Eve. I love this story. I always want people to know this. On Christmas Eve, it's snowing so bad outside of my house that I can't, hardly see the road. And I call this guy, and this guy says, "Hey, listen," his name's Mike Beard. And he said, "If you can get here, I'm leaving at noon, but if you can get here, I might hire you." It's like 9:30. It took me 2.5 hours to drive a 30-minute drive. It was snowing so freaking bad. I get there, and he's like, "Holy crap, you actually made it." I told him, I said, "Bro, I need a job, right? I got a 2-year-old, no presents under the tree, and it's Christmas Eve. I got to have a job." He said, "Sarah," we talk. He says, "I'll give you $8 an hour." I jumped up. I was like, "Yeah, I'll take that." And he's still my main mentor today. We still go out on the boat and have a bunch of fun times. And he tells me all the time, he says, Jason, I would have went to like $12 an hour, but you jumped at 8. I said, dude, I needed a job, you know? Started there, was there for 2 years. Ironically enough, the agency I wanted to come work for, I was taking all their business. So now they came to me and said, hey, we want to hire you. Very, very tough thing for me to do. I owed Mike Beard everything in my life. He had taken me under his wing and taught me. He threw me in front of the phone, said, answer the phone. I'll never forget it. I said to him, I said, I don't know anything about insurance. He said, Jason, there's only 10 to 12 questions that everybody's going to answer. Once you get those done, you'll be a rock star. I was about 3 weeks in, and I'm talking to this lady about her homeowner's insurance. And she says to me, she says, dang, boy, you seem to be really good in insurance. How long have you been in insurance? And I said, 3 weeks. And she said, wow, that gave me, Jeff, all the confidence I needed. I realized, holy cow, I knew things that other people didn't know, and they were willing to give me money to find that out. Then that other agency came to me. And this was hard because I had to go to Mike Beard. And I want everybody to understand this is the kind of person Mike Beard is.
Thank you for all your support to our channel. Here is a quick word from our sponsor. Please click on the link below in the comment section to sign up for a demo with Track AI.
What if your insurance sales conversations could work harder for you? Meet Track, your AI-powered conversation intelligence partner. Track automatically captures and analyzes every customer interaction, providing instant call summaries, risk analysis, and AI-driven coaching insights. Say goodbye to manual note-taking and hello to more selling time. Track handles the admin work while you handle the revenue. Fully integrated with your favorite platforms. Plus, get custom AI analysis tailored to your unique business needs. Transform your sales team's performance with Track. Visit track.ai today.
Click the link in the description below to schedule a demo with Track today.
I sat down in front of him. Picture a 24-year-old producer who's killing it, sits down in front of you and tells you, after you taking them under your wing for 2 years, I tell him, Mike, I need to take this other job at the insurance partnership. It's 4 blocks from my house. This is a half an hour drive, da, 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 da. And he looks at me and he says, Jason, you have to do what's best for you and your family. Don't worry about me. And he said, and on top of that, I'm going to allow you to take your book of business. He said, but this was smart of him. He said, but I'm going to make an agreement with you. This is it. You can take your book of business, but if you ever walk in on an account of mine, I ask that you leave. I said, Mike, you got my word, man. You got my word. And at the time, Jeff, I didn't understand like what book of business was and like all that stuff and all the metrics. I've been in business 2 years. And yeah, I took the book of business, went to the insurance partnership. They made me a bunch of promises. They didn't keep one of them. I hope you're listening now because you know how big of a piece of beep you are for all the things that you made for me. Ironically enough, what was really awesome is I got over to the insurance partnership. This is a cool little story. I get over to the insurance partnership, and when I'm over there, I realized that I can't write as much business as I did before because at the other place, there was this girl named Lorna Monroe, and she had taught me how to really sell commercial insurance at Mike Beard's spot. So I went to my owner. This is how young kids think. I went to my owner at the insurance partnership and I said, hey, I think I could sell a lot more business. I said, but I need that girl, Lorna Monroe, over at Mike Beard's office. She needs to come work here and we'll make more money. And he said to me, Tom Simpson was the owner. He said, if you can get Mike to let her go, I'll hire her. I drove right over to Mike. I said, Mike, I love you to death, buddy. I know I left you and da-da-da-da, but I need Lorna. He let me take Lorna. I took Lorna. She went over to my thing. Boom. We made so much money. She left in 2009 because she was unhappy. I told him if she left, I was going to leave. So I started my own agency in the basement of my home. A kid that's getting ready to go into high school, 2 of them. I lived on a golf course with 2 car payments, a house payment. I didn't know what the hell I was going to do, to be honest with you, but I knew that I believed in myself. So then in 2015, I just did it as much as I could, built up a business. In 2015, I met Travis Etheridge, who's still my 50-50 business partner. We then moved over into an agency or got a physical location. 2018, we bought 2 or 3 other locations. And now kind of here I am. Now that's a parallel world of the insurance world, right? But in 2013, I started a company called Grow Program, which eventually in 2018, I rebranded it into Agency Intelligence, which in 2013, that's when I started my podcast. Now it's called Agency Intelligence today. It was called Agents Influence. I love that story. I'll tell that if we have time. But it ran parallel. I was in 2005 in my insurance career. I was asked to be a part of the young agents of Illinois. And so, if people know about the young agents that you're listening, a lot of you guys are part of the Big I. The young agents, each state has their own group, okay? And what they do is they compete throughout the year to have the best fundraisers, the best events, the most people to give to your pack, and different things. And then at the end of the year, not only would you get that award, but you'd also get what we called the World Series, to where you would win the whole thing, like you were the Young Agent Committee of the Year. In 2004, I told them, I said, if you put me on that committee, we will be Young Agent Committee of the Year. They put me on it in 2005, in 2006, 2007, 2008, and 2009, we won Young Agent Committee of the Year through the Big I. The Big I found me and said, Jason, we're going to make you a national young agent. And in 2010 to 2012, I was the first Illinois agent to ever lead the national young agents. A very, very proud moment of mine. But upon doing that, they sent me around the country telling I was selling a lot of insurance on Facebook. I was doing Facebook giveaways, iPad giveaways. You can go to the Insurance Alliance and go back to 2010, 2011, and 2012, and you can see how I was just giving away all this stuff, writing a ton of business. Big I sent me across America to tell other agents. Upon doing that, I realized that people would come up to me and they would say, Jason, I've got this idea. And I would say, well, that's a great idea. Why are you telling me? And they'd say,
just to go back for a second, what year was this for the Facebook giveaway?
2010, 2011, 2012.
Man, you were ahead of time.
Oh, I was way ahead of the time.
Not many were doing that at the time. Okay.
Oh, yeah, and that's why I love the Facebook, because it's all on there. It's all proof. You can see all my giveaways. I was doing all kinds of things. I did it one time because like I said, it was in 2010, man. I needed to figure out a way to market, and I didn't have any money. And I just went and got an iPad, and I said, hey, if you allow me to do a quote, I'll put your name in this hat. And then in 2 weeks, I'm going to draw out a name and you win the iPad. Oh my God. I had people like, yeah, give me a quote. Yeah, give me a quote. Give me a quote. And I was like, shit, this is really working. So I figured out that and a couple other things, but these agents would say to me, Cass, like, why? I got this idea. And I'd say, why are you telling me this idea? And they would say, because Cass, you have the microphone. And I thought to myself, oh shit, I didn't realize that. So then I started thinking, well, I could create my own microphone, right? I don't have to be going on these stages. And so that's where I created AI podcast. Now, a funny thing, if you want to know, because I created the podcast, this story's been told many times, so no one's going to get in trouble here. It's the reason why I was removed from the young agents. Now, Jeff, you're never going to believe this. When I released my podcast on March 11th of 2013, I got a call from legal of the Big I. They said, Jason, you're the National Young Agent Chairman. You can't have this podcast. You're going to talk about something because a lot of these associations, I'm not bad in the Big I, I'm just telling the truth. They run on money from companies. And if you got agents out there saying bad things, it could possibly affect their funding. I told the legal there, I'm not taking my podcast down. They said, Jason, you need to take your podcast down. I said, I'm not taking my podcast down. The next week, I released another episode. 2 days later, I got a call from Bob Rusbolt, the CEO of the Big I. And he said, Jason, you need to take your podcast down. That's not good representation, blah, 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 blah. I don't bad Bob for it. He was doing, at that time, man, podcasts were new. It was a different world, right? And so I understand where his hesitance was. And I didn't do it. They removed me off of the Young Agents Committee right then as chairman. And it was unbelievable. I really was so hurt by it. But I know I can look back and I can realize why they did it. So then in 2018, started Agency Intelligence. Man, I've started so many different things. Started Agency Intelligence. I have the Agency Intelligence Podcast Network, where we have a bunch of podcasts that all play. You can go to theinsurancepodcastnetwork.com. You can see that. I have a mastermind where I have 180 agents that pay to be part of a mastermind. I do 2 meetings a month. I created a brain share where It's an area where you're only 100 people. It's invite only. And we go across America once a month or once a year, and we meet and we just share ideas and do things. Not a conference or convention. It's a brain share, completely different. Upon doing that, I started using VEs, virtual employees. They call them VAs. We call them VEs in 2014. When before most people even knew what a VE or VI was, I was using them. And when we started going through it, fast forwarding to now, I went through my third company and left them in 2021 because they're all crooks. Just about every VE company out there is a freaking crook. And I thought to myself, great. I had 5 VEs. I purchased their contracts from the company that I was to buy that contract, so keep them with me. And after at this time in 2021, my podcast is doing about 60,000 downloads a month. And I've got my listeners calling me saying, hey, Cass, where are you getting your VEs now that you've left these other places? It only took a while for my entrepreneurial mind, Jeff, to go, I got this figured out more than these guys do. And so that's when we started Virtual Intelligence. And Virtual Intelligence, now we have offices in the Philippines. And then this April, I bought out On Hand VAs out of Colombia. And so now we have merged those two companies. Started out with around, 6 or 7 VEs. Now we're up to over 150, just in a little over 2 years doing what we're supposed to be doing. We provide technology, just not VAs inside there. So I've done a lot of other stuff. Believe me, I've created Indie Tech now, which Indie Tech is fantastic. Looking forward to you being there next year. I realized that Applied had an awesome show. Vertifor has an awesome show. Hawksoft has an awesome show. But what if you're not any of those AMSs? And what if you use products that those AMSs don't use? So I created Indie Tech, and that's what I call the Switzerland of the technology world. It's neutral. No one's in charge. It's no one's better than anybody. It's just about independent insurance agents and the technology that powers them to profit. Woo! Oh my God. How long did it take for me to do that? But that was pretty much my entire life. I've never done that, Jeff. Whew.
I'm getting ready to ask some questions.
I figured so.
Let's talk about it. Who was your first podcast guest? Who was the first one that was your guest on your show?
I can't remember the guy's name. We could go back and look at it, but the dude was out of Alabama. And you know what? He called me. This guy called me out of nowhere because I was doing my Facebook ads, and he said, it was my Facebook pro. He said to me, this was incredible. He said, Jason, I think if you put me on your podcast, I'll get more attention than anybody because I give my producers 80% commission. And I was like, God damn, 80% commission. At that time, I didn't realize as a young business owner that you really can't make a lot of money if you're giving away 80% of the farm to your people. And that was 80% new business and renewal. I don't know how the guy's still alive. I mean, maybe he's still there. But anyways, and so the reason why I went with that guy is because it was like 80%. Anyways, I knew that the marketing, that using that term in that headline of how to pay your agents 80% or whatever I named it, would spur it, and it did. That got going. I remember when I got my first download, it was an amazing moment to me that somebody out there was willing to listen to me. When I got 5 in a day, I was like, what in the heck? And don't think that this was quick. I mean, it was my first month and I probably had 20 downloads. It was my first 6 months and I probably had 150 downloads because people didn't understand what podcasts were, why you were doing it, or there wasn't Apple Podcasts and Google and all these Spotify's and these easy places to find podcasts. You had to go to a website. We had to post it on a website. You had to click on it and listen to it on the website. If you shut out of the website, the podcast stopped. So that's back in the technology that we were using then. Yeah.
What was your big platform that you got the most download from? It was Spotify?
No. All downloads for any podcast come through Apple. Apple still to this day has probably around 85 to 90% of my downloads that come in. Spotify was at 1%. They're now up to 5%. And I'm being serious. I'm not joking when I say it. This is a tough market share to take from Apple. So you can start to see like these purchases of the Joe Rogan show and all these things that Spotify did to bring in those. It's actually starting to work. I think they wish it worked quicker, but no, Apple by far, any podcast out there, they're the best. Well, not the best, but
that's interesting.
Everybody listens to.
How many episodes are you on now that you have recorded on your show?
How many shows? Oh, this was around a year ago because we did. This was in March of. No, I started. No. Actually, holy shit, we're going to be going on 12 years. At the 10-year mark, I had done a little over 800. And so that
Wow.
was on March 13th of 2023. I had done a little over 800.
You have 60,000 downloads per month. That's a massive number. What do you
Correct. It's
think
down now. It's down. Okay. So this is good because no podcasters will tell you this because they all lie. What happened? Apple went through and cleaned up their system because so many people had just it become trash over the whole thing. And now Apple had a good podcast thing. About 18 months ago, they went through and just cleaned out people who said, hey, I'm a follower of Cass back in 2014. And some people don't know this, but if you hit that I follow somebody on Spotify or I follow that podcast on Apple, that means you automatically get a download. So see, like even when I produce a podcast and I put it out, it automatically goes out and they consider that downloads. So really, I had 60,000 downloads. Now I'm down to around 30,000. But here's the important part. I have 24,000 to 25,000 average on month listens. That's better
great
than
numbers.
downloads.
That's fantastic numbers.
That's where people actually are listening to it, is what it is.
Yeah.
But yes, that's what I got now.
If you have to say your top 3 episodes of all your guests, who are they?
Totally.
You want to do some shout outs?
I already got them. Yeah. I know that, but number one, Billy Williams has given me 2 podcasts, golfing, and golfing, insurance golfing, I think it was. And he talks about how he learned how to golf and how he attributes it to an insurance agency. It's a fascinating thing. And if anybody knows Billy Williams, he's a genius. My agency is modeled after Billy Williams, a platform. A guy that I can see him and it's going to drive me crazy. He was with Safeco at the time. He's done my podcast twice, and he always, when he was with Chuck Blondino, God damn, thank God I forgot his name. I didn't forget his name. Chuck Blondino used a big wig over at Safeco, and he would study these 900 agents every year and see how they were doing. And he gave statistics on the top 25 things that these people do that grow in double digits. That was astronomically huge. So that was one.
That's cool.
Oh, it was really cool. And then the other one was in 2019 in June. It's called Whale Hunting 101. It is my #1 downloaded podcast. And it was when David Carruthers and I first met. So David Carruthers, who has Killing Commercial and all that stuff that we know about, you're looking at the #1 Killing Commercial. He used me as the guinea pig. I was the guy. He said, Jason, I remember he called me. We started talking. I told him, I said, whoa, bro, you got to stop talking right now. We got to freaking get you on a damn podcast. And so that's what we did. We got him on a podcast. And I told him, I said, hey, if you want to create this commercial thing that you're thinking about, I said, teach it to me and we'll see if it works. Still to this day, I use his method and I teach that to my other producers. But yeah, so that was a big
I think one. I met you right around that time, and I was following that journey, how you guys first meet, how you guys hooked up, how you guys linked up. Yeah, that's cool.
Chuck Blondino in 2014 was my first one that I think I got like 100 downloads in the one day. And I was like, holy crap. You know, I'd never got more than like 30 in one day. But then I started to learn something. You have to get guests who are famous or have a huge network. And then that's how you build your network, right? See, it's the old give and take. You got to give somebody else the platform so that they then can give you back the listeners that you're needing to build your platform.
So I know you're a father, your son's in the business with you.
That's right.
How is it like for him to know that his dad is an influencer?
You know, he never talks about it. He knows. I think he likes it. Obviously, it's his dad, and he goes places with me a lot, and people recognize me and stuff. But I won't get into the conversation, but him and I are on the opposite sides of politics right now. I'm a Republican and so is he, but he supports one and I don't support that one. And one of the things we were talking about the other day really got me. It was one of the greatest things my son had probably ever said to me, and he still doesn't realize that he said it to me. I tell him that I don't like the one person he likes because I don't think he's a leader, and I vote for leaders. Leaders bring people together. They don't divide. Please, everybody remember that listening to this. Leaders lead by bringing people together. They don't divide. So if you want to vote for a leader, then probably don't have much of a choice now. But he said to me, he said, Dad, I've lived my life watching you be a leader for other people. I've watched you change people's lives. I've watched you do things that I don't know if I could ever do. He's like, but I do understand, and I may not agree with you politically, but I do understand that that's what a leader is because you have been a leader that I've always watched. He said something to that effect. And I got off. I mean, I
Sure.
was just sitting there and it was a text message. It was a text message.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there like, holy shit, I have never had my son acknowledge that who I am. And I've never like tried to push that out in front of them, but yeah, now he's 25. He works in my commercial department. He sells on the Killing commercial system. That's what he does. And I've got a 19-year-old. The rule in my agency or any of my companies, you cannot work for any of my companies as my sons until you're 22 years old, and you must have a job for 12 months consecutively before. So Gavin did the same thing. He called me on his 22nd birthday, said, Dad, I'm ready to come work for you. I said, come on. So then that's what we did. My 19-year-old, he's a little shit. And he thinks dad's gonna bend, and dad's not gonna bend. So he's out there right now trying to get through the next 2.5 years so that he can come work here. His brother will dominate the inside of the agency, and then Rylan, my youngest, will be one of the best salespeople ever. He's got so many gifts and talents, it's unbelievable. He's just 19 and doesn't have the confidence or the know-how yet.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Here's the deal, the thing I want to let you know, Jeff, because this goes back to it. There's something that every agency owner needs to tell their young producers. And this is something that you probably haven't even realized as an agency owner. Not you. I'm talking to other people. I love talking to the guests and to the listeners when we're talking.
Same.
One of the things that's important is there's 5 truths of insurance. We are told lies every day in this industry. We're told that if you want to be successful, you have to have a lot of companies. We're told that if you want to be successful, you have to do things yourself, right? We're told lies such as the this and that. We're told, well, hey, even though that person's just giving you their motorcycle, maybe they'll have you write their auto or home later. So if I get this, maybe I'll get that. That's a lie. We never go get that. We just write this and we become bankrupt because it's not profitable. There's so many different things that we are told and just trained on that are not true. And when I look at all those, yeah, they work. You need to know about them. You need to live them. But I take it down to 5 truths. What are the 5 truths of insurance? The 5 truths are this. Number 1, financial freedom. This job allows you to make as much damn money as you want to. I don't know any other job that allows you to make as much money as you want. I don't know any other job that you can take out every dollar on the 31st out of your bank account, and in 2 or 3 days, it's filled right back up. That's pretty freaking amazing, right? Without somebody coming and buying like a bunch of shoes every month. You don't sell shoes, you ain't got money next month, right? So that's a huge thing. Number 2, flexible schedule. A flexible schedule, people have no idea. I tell my young producers all the time, you have no idea the value of never missing one of your kids' games, recitals, or whatever's important to them. You have no idea how much that's worth. It's so unbelievable. Flexible schedule, financial freedom. And number 2 is a community leader. So you can be a community leader. Now that could be in your community. That means that you may be part of your chamber. That means you could be a part of the PTO board, but it allows you to have the financial freedom and flexible schedule to help build your community, whatever that community would be. Number 2 is you are going to be an empire builder. An empire builder means that inside my agency, if you talk to any of my team right now, they will tell you this, they are all part of an empire. And each one of them is in charge of building that empire, whether it's a claims department, a personal lines department, whether our automation, technology department. And you get to build that. And you get to be a part of that. And if you get to be the owner, you're like the head GC that's building your own thing. So I think that's fantastic. Number 5 is mentorship. You get to tell and show other people. I say this all the time, Jeff, this business has taken me places I never thought I'd go. I've met people I never thought I'd meet. And I have given my family the life that I never thought that I could give them. In 30 and 60 and 80 and 100 years, I want somebody to be owning my agency who's getting that same feeling that I get every day, because that is what makes life go. And insurance does. Those 5 truths, if you're listening, you write those down and you start telling that to young producers, because they're wanting to know, what am I going to get out of this other than money? Other than seeing you golf on the course all the time and they think, well, one day I'll be able to golf all the time, tell them the 5 truths. It helps them understand what they're going to get out of this in life. I absolutely love this shit, Jeff.
If you had to go back and think about, because you just literally downloaded like agency playbook. If you had to go back and think about all the agency owner you met over the years, if you had to give 2 or 3 that really struck out to you that while you were interviewing them, and then you just like, holy cow, this guy's a monster. Who do you think? I mean, a lot of podcasts, right? A lot of guests. Who do you think just struck out in your mind? Dave Carruthers definitely got to be one of those guys.
Yeah. David Carruthers there's 2 different types, right? There's first of all, David Carruthers is fan-frickin-tastic, and as we actually record this, all prayers with him and his family and everybody else, because they just got waxed down there from that hurricane. So
that was real.
Yeah,
that hurricane was real.
Thoughts with him. But David's a strong guy. Knowing him, he'll build a second bigger house or something. You know, that's what David does. So it's about the people that are genuine and aren't bullshitters, and then it's the big achievers, right? There's kind of 2 different types. I've tried to stay away from the big achievers because you never really know who's really telling the truth and who's not. But I've been around a bunch of them. I've got them in my mastermind. Billy Williams is the most influential person in my entire life when it comes to business. Hands down, no doubt. The guy understands how to run an agency, that he understands things from the most simplest form. He's taught me so much. For my birthday, when I was 44, my wife said, Jason, what do you want to do? I'm sorry, 45. She said, what do you want to do for your 45th birthday? I said, you know what I want to do? I want to fly down to Dallas, Texas, and I want to hang out with Billy Williams for 3 days and play golf by myself. And she was like, wow, are you serious? I said, yeah, that's what I did. I flew down there and I stayed with Billy Williams for 3 days, my own hotel, my own everything, because I just wanted to soak up so much. And I also wanted to tell him, I'm 46 now, so you can see this was only a year ago. I wanted to tell him, like, you've given me so much. And keep in mind, this guy has over $1 billion in premium and has over $157 million in revenue. And he's not an agency owner. What he does is he invests in agencies. So he owns 20, 30, 50, 60% of an agency. And when you add all those up, that's what he's actually in charge of. That's amazing when you think about that. He's not an aggregator or anything. This is just a human that is able to create systems and processes like no one ever. David Carruthers, I'm going to right now. There's a bunch of people that are probably going to be very mad at me, but I also want to give a shout out to Vonda Copeland. Vonda Copeland is a giant that no one knows about. I know Vonda on a very serious and business level together. And people have no idea the fact that she owns brokerages, agricultural businesses, a huge agency. Her and her husband, Jay, are 2 great people in this industry. I can only imagine how they are in their home and in their business. So that would be somebody else as well. Also, I'll give a shout out there to, oh gosh, why am I forgetting names? I apologize. His name's Billy. God, he's in the mastermind. I do apologize. My brain is scattered right now. It'll come to me. He has a $30 million agency down out of Florida. Billy, gosh, Jason, man, he's listening to this right now and he's going, Jason, you couldn't remember my damn
Billy
last
Wagner.
name. Billy Wagner. God, thank you, Jeff.
Nicest human being on earth, man.
And dude, he knows it, bro.
His area was he lived in Jacksonville, and shout out to Billy Wagner because I saw your Facebook post. There was a lot of people that was being stranded and evacuating, and Billy's like, whatever I can do for you, come up here, come up north, come up Jacksonville. We're dry. We'll take care of you. So shout out to Billy.
That's Billy. That's just Billy. And dude, see, I like people who are calm, cool, collective, opposite of me, because those are usually not the bullshitters. But also, being part of the mastermind, I get to see a lot of these people's financials. So I really hold you in high regard, not when you tell me what you're doing, but when you actually show me what you're actually doing, right? Because that's important. We don't need bullshitters. We need real people that are going to try to keep this industry going forward. So I'll probably think of some others, and if I do, I'll bring them up. But right now, that was 2 or 3.
There was another event Billy was doing, like donations, giveaway. It was him and Carruthers. I can't remember.
Dude,
what they
Billy
were
doing. Does all kinds of stuff, dude. He's written
man, it's
books.
such an awesome thing.
He is the nicest guy. And like, he knows so much more than me and most of the people in the mastermind, but he's in there all the time, just giving his love, teaching us different things. Dude, Billy
Yeah.
Wagner is the man. He is absolutely the man.
Yeah. Who do you think showed up on your podcast that was a tech builder that created cool tech? Because you interview people on the short tech
Oh,
side,
all the time.
which one stood out to you on your episodes?
Uh, I mean,
Did you ever had Tarmika guy?
Yeah,
Um,
Tarmika. Yeah, Rags
right.
Tanov. I mean, dude, Rags is sorry, that's not his name. That's what I call him personally. His name's Rags, so I do apologize for that. That's a name. But Rags is unbelievable. Got bought out. He came about, did Tarmika, got bought out 2 years later. I always like to tell Rags, like, yeah, you started advertising on the Agency Intelligence podcast. You started getting noticed, didn't you? That's not true. He did his own work. Him and Christopher, his CMO. They started that thing from the ground and worked it up. And worked in his dad's agency. Peter McDonald of Wonderwrite. Now I'm telling you about technology that
That's a cool tool.
may
Peter
not be the
got cool
best
tool.
podcaster in the world, but what I'm answering you right now is technology that I use because I think it's the best and I believe in them, not just so much it. Gaia, Gaya, Gaia Technologies, totally changed my agency. We can do 5 to 7 carrier quotes. Give me your auto and home, and I can do 5 to 7 quotes in 3 to 7 minutes using Gaia. You can't find anything else that it's AI technology. I would also say that I believe that Quandary would be another one. I'm telling you right now, Jackson Frago is one of the smartest dudes out there, and he's got a younger brother about 3 years younger than him, and that dude is freaking smart too. I love AI and I love RPA because this is what I say. So I don't want to go off. So you remind me other tech. Okay. But this is cool. This is my new thing. So we got four ways that we do tasks inside any agency anywhere. There's actually 5, but I say 4 inside the agency. Okay. Number 1 is with a licensed person. Number 2 is with an unlicensed person. Number 3 is with artificial intelligence. And number 4 is with RPA. The 5th one is actually customer service. Like they do their own, customer self-serve. But I'm talking about us in an agency. How's the 4 ways that we do the task? The reason why I'm fascinated with this is I've now come to the conclusion after using this technology that AI is nothing more than the brains and RPA is nothing more than the hands and feet. And if you put them together, you get a digital human. So right now they're separated. But as we start to build out technology, we're going to start to realize for AI to be the best, you can put all the information in it in the world if you want, Jeff. But if it can't move around, then that's pointless. But if you have RPA, which can move things around, but it needs data. So it only makes sense that those two would eventually start to merge and we will be back, because before AI and that, we just had 2 ways of doing it, right? Licensed and unlicensed. But that digital person is not yet actually created, but will be pretty soon, to where those will be merging together. AI is the brains, RPA is the hands and the feet. The people who merge those and do it collectively, as far as helping my agency go, they are going to be a powerhouse. So Gaia is another one. Dude, Tolga, who created Agency Zoom. I've said it all the time and I'm going to say it again, and Gaia will probably get mad at me because they're awesome too. But they're not competitors. But Carl, who's Gaia, I always tell him he has the greatest technology. The best product made in the last 5 years for insurance agencies, from a simple form, not a detailed thing, Agency Zoom. Agency Zoom allows agents to do all the stuff that their management system just won't do. Not only that, I don't want my producers in my management system because they'll mess it up. They don't know what the hell they're doing inside the thing. And plus, it's hard to find things in there. But my producers will use Agency Zoom. I have automations, I have pipelines, I have workflows that I never thought that I would have. I also would not have all those if I didn't hire Mitch Gibson. Mitch Gibson, in my opinion, he's 29 years old. He works for me. He's the CTO of the Insurance Alliance. He's also the CTO of Virtual Intelligence. I don't know if there's somebody there's people out there that are smarter than him, but he was a rock star commercial insurance and personal lines agent for 6-7 years. And then he started getting into technology because he realized his agency he was at was old and outdated. And dude, that right there is when I decided that I was going to hire this guy. And I want to talk about that because when we're talking about this is important for businesses to know. I don't know, Jeff, how businesses and agencies go into the future without having some kind of tech person on staff. I don't know how you can do it. I'm an agency, 1.3 million revenue. I'm building out my stuff. I can't figure out how I would do it. I had this guy come in into my agency in 2018, and he started building out some technology for us or whatever, and he left in 2021. He wasn't gone a week, and we were like, oh crap. What are we going to do with all this technology? Like, it's breaking. We don't know what to do. And we suffered through it for 2 months, but then I just picked up the phone and I called Mitch. I said, Mitch, how much you want, buddy? I need you to come over here, and I want you to be an agent if you want to be, but I need you to be my CTO. Now he has completely built out our systems in ways that I never thought that I would ever see. We don't have enough time to go on to it, but he's a super talented person. Where he's very unique, though, is he really gets and was really good at the insurance side, and he really gets and understands and knows the technology side. It's just priceless for him to be able to merge it together. People pay him $500 an hour right now to consult for their business. And when we tell them that, we're thinking, oh, they're going to buy 3 or 4 hours. They'll buy 20 hours because they see what he can do. And it's just not him. He's now trained out 2 or 3 other people that's what they do. Now, that's not his separate company. That's our team for virtual intelligence and TIA. But he gets so many requests. I told him, I said, dude, I can't tell you no, you can't make more money, And so that's what he does. But I don't know how you're not going to be able to have a tech person in the future. I just don't get it. Unless the software gets a lot better and they don't break and they self-fix themselves. Maybe AI will be something that can fix things in the future. I don't know, but we couldn't do it.
So, random plug. I had Jeff Peru from Smart Choice. No, not. I'm sorry. Jeez. First, I'm drawing blank now. No, I'm drawing blank.
I know. First comp, maybe first.
Oh my gosh.
I know, dude.
But they just got bought out. They're like a Marshberry company. Not Smart Choice. I keep on wanting to say Smart Choice, but First Choice. But he was the strategic partnership advisor for the aggregator and their top aggregator. And I'm gonna just look it up real quick so this way that I am not botching this one. But I was like, man, why don't more agency aggregator all they do it for all their agents, right? If you have 60, 70 agency under your command, there should be someone out there that is finding all the best tech, best tool to integrate with your aggregator agency. First Choice, a Marshberry company, Jeff Peru, that's the name.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure I got that
So
right.
I already created the same thing. It's just got done. I'm trying to take on my first agency right now. Yes, I created another thing. It's not about the money. I have got a bunch of good money, more than I ever made. It's about finding the weaknesses in the insurance industry and filling the holes. Every company I have, that's all I've done, is tried to fill a hole where there was a need. And I filled it here. Upon talking, not my team, I don't sell anymore, but virtual intelligence, we started realizing that there are some people, yes, they need virtual employees, but actually they need processes, they need workflows, they don't know how to be owners. This is way bigger than somebody just getting a virtual employee and thinking that they're going to be better off. So what we did is I have created, it's top secret, and I'm being serious about that. No one's allowed to know about it and different things like that, like know the details of it. But essentially what I've done is I've created a platform. It's called the Membership Alliance, TMA, called TIMA. And what it allows is we'll do all that for you. We do all the service work for you. We provide you a full-time CTO tech person. We bring all the tech into your agency. If you have tech in your agency, we help you realize if you need it or not. We usually combine it or get rid of it, which saves you a ton of money. And we do all those services because agents right now, you've always heard agents are like, well, I was a good salesperson, then I wanted to become my own agent so I could make more money. And then they get their own agency and they realize they don't make any more money and they're more stressed out. So what they're doing now is turning that over to me. So it's not like a goose head of a service center. That's not what it is. And I don't want to go into more to it. It's a very private group. We share financials. We do very, very deep things. You can't get in the group unless others in the group okay you to be in the group. 100% have to be. If one of them decides, hey, I don't like that person, they're not in, then they're not in. And it's something that I'm trying to do. Now, here's where we're different. I don't want your money. I don't want your commissions. I don't want ownership in your business. I do this like agents do. I don't want anybody to touch my money, Jeff. I don't want anybody to be owner of my business. I just need some services. I need some help. I need some tech support. I need to know how to do things that you're doing, right? That's what they say to me. So I can do this and we can make this work without me having to touch any of your money or take any of your ownership. And that's kind of what we've created behind the scenes. So doing the same thing, except First Choice is a fantastic organization. They really, truly are. I know those guys personally. But I also know that they kind of follow along, swim the same river, and then they break off into different streams that come back to the same river and do different things. Marshberry, I think, is doing it a little bit differently because Marshberry has a reputable name. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Every time I turn around, Jason have another startup.
Yeah, it's just, yeah,
So
I do.
I ask you about that, all your guests. I mean, everybody you interview is an entrepreneur. Is there anybody that you interviewed that were like, man, this dude was just strategically brilliant, like outside of Carruthers, some of the name we mentioned, is anybody else that like you're like, wow, what an amazing entrepreneur.
Man, I bet you I could give you a lot of them because I know so many of them. Almost every agent I know that's successful is a very good entrepreneur. One person that's somebody. Okay, I'm going to tell you who the baddest agent in the industry is right now.
Ooh.
Right now, hands down, no joke about it. Because this dude has shit figured out, and if people know him, they'll know. James Jenkins. James Jenkins out of Riskwell Insurance is one of the most unbelievable agents I ever know. I mean, he posts his numbers on Facebook. That's how positive he is. And like, I think it was like last month, the month before, he wrote $923,000 in premium. And that's not in personal lines. That's in commercial lines. He doesn't have a personal lines department. He sold that because he figured out commercial so much. He writes real estate investors. He writes over 200 real estate investors a month that come in off his website. He's not buying traffic. You know what he's doing? He's the rainmaker. He's created 6, 7 people at his office that are just like unbelievably awesome, led by his wife. And then he goes out there and just meets with people, board members, whatever. This was the stress of most of these hurricanes. He was like, man, I got so many clients there in this state and this state. The guy is driving revenue in ways. And the thing about it is a lot of people like scoff at him. They do. And I try to tell this to James. I'm like, James, that's what happens when you're the leader, bro. And people, when they can't figure out how you're doing what you're doing, then it's just easier just to deny you. You know, oh yeah. James Jenkins is one of the best agents out there. He's real. He doesn't lie. He doesn't bullshit you, and he'll show you his numbers. He also has a podcast, which is a Agency Freedom podcast. And he talks about a lot because he used to dominate Farmers Insurance. I think it was Farmers. Yeah, Farmers. And then he left Farmers and then started his own. But James Jenkins, you guys got to check him out. Riskwell. I think it's riskwell.com. Might be riskwellinsurance.com. Fantastic entrepreneur.
Shout out to James. Jason, let's talk about events. What's your events going to look like next year? Because you host a bunch of little events.
Yeah.
From insurance events to mastermind event. Let's talk about that for a second.
Okay, so it's already 9:53. Wow, we've been going a long time. Sorry about that, loyal listeners. Or not, you're not loyal listeners. Mine are loyal listeners. You're going to be loyal listeners too. So anyways, we have Indie Tech and we have Brain Share. So Brain Share we usually do in the spring. Indie Tech we do in the fall. We just had our Indie Tech 3 weeks ago. I was sitting in a meeting at an Ivans Connect meeting at Applied's conference. They invite me every year. Thank you, Applied. I love it. They have a great show. And I sat in the back and thought to myself, where are the agents who don't do Applied or don't do Vertafore, right? They're not here. And they're sitting at home wondering, where's technology? I started thinking to myself, I do speaking. I speak all across America. And when I go to these events, I go into the tech show, and I realize there will be 80 vendors in there and less than 5 of them will be technology. And I think to myself, how are agents supposed to adapt and to adopt, I should say, technology if we're not exposed to it? There needs to be a show where you go just to see technology. And so I started looking around and there's not one. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, okay, I need to do this. So me and Mitch Gibson put this together and created. Our first year, we had 120 people. I didn't think that was very successful because I wanted to have like 200, but it kind of hurt my ego a little bit. But then again, it was a first time event. And then this year, our goal was to have 200 to 250 people. We ended up with 330 people. So now my ego was,
Nice.
I lost the bruise, And now this year, we're not gonna do it in 2026. Not gonna do a brain share in 2026. We're not gonna do we're not gonna do an indie tech in 2025. We're not gonna do a brain share or an indie tech in 2025. What we're gonna do is we're gonna bring them both together in January of 2026. And so the spring, if you don't know, as a listener, the spring and the fall is a cluster beep full of just too many shows. I mean, there's so many shows, it's ridiculous. They're on top of each other. And what that does is that prevents people from being able to see the technology, but also the vendors. The vendors only have so much sales staff to go around, So we're bringing it together in Fort Lauderdale. And the first day and a half will be the brain share. So that'll be the normal brain share, AI champions. If you're a part of the AI mastermind, you're considered a champion. That's what we call them. I like branding everything that I do because then it gives it meaning. And so I have that. So January of 2026, and then the next day and a half will be the Indie Tech. And we're expecting around 500 to 600 people this time. I'm confident enough that now moving it out of there. And not only that, we got a lot of publicity off this year. This year really, really blew up well. And considering everybody loved it, and the second day was almost wiped out because of the hurricane. Now keep this up, Jeff. I had my Indie Tech in 2023, my first one. The second day got wiped out because of a hurricane. I have my thing this year, the second day got wiped out because of a hurricane. Are you freaking serious? I was like, you've got to be kidding me. So that's why I said, I'm taking this shit out of hurricane season, and I'm going to go to January where there's no dang hurricanes and it's nice and warm and people will want to get away. So I'm going to be bringing those two together. At Indie Tech this year, we also brought the Insurance Mavericks. If you're an agency owner and you want to find a good quality group, you should go find the Insurance Mavericks. You will really, really, truly like them. But those are my two events that I try to do. And then I just speak. I've already got like 5 speaking gigs this year for 2025.
What's your speaking gig then?
Okay, well, I've got one PIA national for Florida. Then we're going to have Indie Tech, obviously, and Brain Share. Those are going to be those. I'll be at Applied. I filled out the paperwork for Vertifor to be a speaker there at theirs. I fill it out every time and they accept me. So I'm not trying to be but I'm just saying I'm probably going to get that one. Then also CAA, which is an aggregator. I'm going to be speaking there in July. I'll be speaking at John Spoggy's event in Vegas. I think that's at the last week in April. And then
That's
I told you PIA,
agent, right?
Yeah, I'm speaking at PIA next week in Daytona, but because they just got wiped out, they're going to move it until the first week of March. So I'll be in there. And this is early for me. Normally I don't have speaking gigs. So I've already got 5. I say 4 because the Daytona one's actually 5 because it's moved to next year. But I've got 5, so I'll probably have a couple more coming down.
Out of a few speaking gig I had, the one that was with you in Oklahoma City, you remember that one?
I do remember that one.
Oklahoma Young Agent, Big Eye.
Uh-huh.
That was one of my favorite because we were just on stage. I had to go after you, right? And then we're just on stage, we're just killing it. And there was some
That was great.
agent there, like we were cursing a little bit, just a little bit. And then they're like, wow, these guys cursed. That was a fun memory.
I try not to curse too much, but I have learned that cursing makes you feel like real. It's one of those things that people are like, wow, this dude's going to sit there and drop he's being real. You can't
And we're passionate.
You can't drop F-bombs and stuff, but you know what I'm talking about,
Yeah. So wrapping up this episode, and thank you for giving us a whole 4 hour. Wrapping up this episode, the next 12 months, Jason, what are some comfortable goals and uncomfortable goals for Jason Cass?
Okay. Well, all right. So first of all, doing all that right now, Travis and I, my business partner and I, we meet at the last week of November, first week of December. We go someplace for 2 days and we put ourselves in a room and we come up with what we're going to do over the next 12 to 24 months. Okay. So we kind of have some stuff built out there. I want to travel less. That's a goal. Okay. I want to travel less. I don't want to be doing as much traveling because virtual intelligence, not only my speaking gigs and not only AI, but virtual intelligence, I have to go everywhere. I'm building that company from the ground up. So it requires me, not as much anymore, but it did. Um, my personal goals is that I want to make sure that my producers do what they're supposed to. I always tell my producers, as long as you can double your production, you're doing what you're supposed to. Well, like my son, right? He starts out at 250,000, then he makes it to 500,000. This year, he's probably going to be right short of 1 million, but next year it's 2 million. Well, I'm trying to be realistic. I don't know if he's going to hit 2 million. I'm not going to let him know that yet, right? But everything that I do is to try to make sure that somebody else is going to be doing good. I read over 25 books a year. Okay. So what I try to do is I try to take that because I know, especially my young guys and girls, they don't read. You can't get them to read. Even if you give them the audio books, they don't read. I try to pay for the shit for them. They won't read it. So I have to try to help to be, remember that fifth one, mentorship? That is what I live off of and strive off of. I'd like to make my margins better. I'd like to, for all my companies, that's something that we're looking at. That's what we look at every year. I also want people to understand what 2025 is getting ready to be. I can't be more serious than this. If you're an agency owner or an agent, you need to hear what I have to say right now. 2025 is getting ready to whoop the shit out of most of the industry. 2025, it's written for Travis and I in our goals. 2025 is the year of the acquisition for the Insurance Alliance. And the reason is agents have gotten lazy. Every one of you that are listening to me, you're growing by 30 to 40%, and you know that you're really not growing by 30 to 40%. It's rate increases. And if you actually take out what your gross revenue is, subtract out your actual new business revenue, you'll be able to see what that rate increase was. And it is huge. I'm not lying to you. We're growing by 30 to 35%. True growth is anywhere between 11 to 17% over the last couple of years. Okay. But agents aren't realizing that. So here's what they haven't been doing. They haven't been hiring producers. They haven't been worrying about their sales staff because they don't have to, right? They're just making so much money with less stress. What's getting now? They haven't had any markets. So you're not losing any business out the back door because your customer can't go anywhere. We've been used to that for 2-3 years now, and it's all getting ready to change. I'm talking to the big wigs of these insurance companies, and they're saying, Jason, by Q2, Q3, we're going to start opening up again. You're going to start seeing them become the whores. Sometimes I like to say that. My main mentor told me that. Just listeners, I'm not being rude. My main mentor, Mike Beard, always told me, he said, you never forget that insurance companies at the end of the day are whores. He used to always tell me that. So that's kind of an inside little story. But there will be one day. So what's going to happen? Agents are going to start losing business out the back door. You better have a strong renewal process because guess what? 75% of your business is going to go shop. 75% of my business is going to go shop insurance, right? And if you don't, number one, have a good renewal process to prevent them from going out the back door, but at the same time, remember, 75% of my competitors are shopping. Who are they calling? Me. So now I better be able to have a system to be able to get this influx of new business. And I'm talking a lot of influx, folks. You all know who've been in this business. I've been in it since 2002. We've never seen rate increases like this, and we've never seen them over a 2 or 3 year period. So we've gotten stale, we've gotten lackadaisical. Our systems and our processes of renewals and new business have kind of fallen down because we haven't had to worry about it. And it's going to come like a hurricane. And I know that's bad analogy, but it's going to be like, whoa, hey, the sky looks blue. 2 hours later, oh crap, there's 70-mile-an-hour winds. This is how it's going to be. And so I'm telling every agent out there, an agency out there, please, please, please take this seriously, because once it starts and you start losing it here and you're not getting it there, it can go really, really, really fast, especially when somebody's always been paying, let's say, I'm just going to make this up, $5,000 a year, and they're now up to $10,000 to $11,000 a year, and they can get it for 6 or 7, they're going to leave you very, very quickly. I don't care how good your relationship is with them. $5,000, that's a solid relationship. And if it's commercial, it's even amplified more, because once the companies get in, they allow us to have our discounts and our credits, and we're going to be able to kill. Right now, in the next 6 to 8 months is a very important time for agents to take the heat and the warning to understand what's going on. Why do I say that we're the year of the acquisition? because agents aren't going to heed the warning and they're going to start losing it. And when they start seeing that business go, guess what they're going to do? They're going to call Cass and they're going to say, hey, man, I think it's time for me to sell. Because I've already been planting for seeds for the last like year, because knowing that this shit is gonna happen. And then Kelly Donahue Piro, who's been doing some studying, she's been doing a new presentation across America. She even talks about it, and she's 100% on. That right there is probably the biggest thing. My stories are cool, but that right there, if you're an agency owner, you need to know. So anyways, I have a stop that I got to go to as well. I completely forgot about. But Jeff, this has been fan-freaking-tastic, dude. I really appreciate it. And to all you listeners, if I talked a lot, I'm known to talk a lot. But Jeff, I greatly appreciate you actually letting me just like talk about all this stuff that, to be honest with you, no one ever asks me about. And sometimes you just can't go up and start telling people this because you feel like you're bragging, but you asking
we
me, I
need to do a
appreciate
part two. I don't think this is enough. I think we need to do a part two and then start talking about your podcast network and other things you got going on. I want to deep dive a little bit more into your
I got a lot. Jeff, thank you very much for your time, dude.
So I appreciate you.